Okay, there is a green line to the stream, so we should be ready to go. So, thank you everybody for joining us here today, and welcome to this November ADA Meetup, the second weekend, not the first one. Sorry for that. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about FOSDEM and some news and updates that have been going on in the forums and compilers, and the GCC compiler and the parallel features that are coming, hopefully coming in GCC 16. But before we get there, Joaquim sent me for last time for the previous ADA monthly meetup, although I didn't see it, a very nice and interesting compiler that you can still download and use. So, Joaquim, would you like to show us what you found?
Hello, everyone.
Oh.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Oh dear.
Okay. Okay. Is everything working now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry for whatever happened. I don't know. But like, suddenly I was told like I couldn't like manage the meeting. I don't know what happened there. Sorry for that. Anyway, so welcome everybody to this monthly meetup for the November one. And today I bring you some news regarding FOSDEM and some news regarding GCC and its development. But before we get started, Joaquim sent me just right before the last ADA monthly meetup a very interesting link to an well, not a new compiler, a very old compiler, but you can still download it and use it for Microsoft DOS. So he is now going to show us what he has prepared. Joaquim, you're muted, just in case.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I'm going to start by I'm turning off my camera, but I'm going to share my screen. So I hope you can see my screen. I want to share my entire screen.
We can
I
see
guess
it
you
now.
can see it.
Yeah.
Perfect. In the email that I sent to you, I have it here in my inbox here. I sent you the link to the Vitusphere software site. So the link, if one clicks on the link, we should share this after this meeting, so that everybody can click for themselves. But it's a link to this site, and here you can download this compiler, the Meridian compiler. And it's an ADA83 compiler for MS-DOS. And also you need to be aware that I think you need to create an account to be able to log into this site to be able to download it. But it is for free. That's my understanding. So no problems. But there it is. And I'm thinking if there's anything else that I would like to show. I'm not sure. But let's get started. That's what I'm thinking. And when my computer, I turn on DOSBox here, can you still see my screen? Or
Yes, we can see now the DOS screen.
You can see it. Great. Thinking for this demo, I can show you that when you have installed the Meridian ADA compiler, it will be here in this ADA directory. And I think that's a little bit fun. There's a lot of, you see the word ADA a lot when you use the Meridian compiler. So it's there, and then I have a folder here called ADA-Z, because when you download, I think there are like 4 zip files that you download, 4 of these images, and there you're supposed to like put these on floppy disk, and on this like old computer, and use the floppy disks to install it. But since we're using DOSBox, I googled for like how to like mount these and install these like virtually. So I have installed it. And when installing the contents here of these image files, that's when we have this ADA directory. And another thing that might be worth mentioning here is that at the top here, there's a directory called ACE, and that's the integrated development environment for this compiler. And when you want to edit a file, you write ACE and then the name of the file you want to edit. And I think also I haven't set up because I've set up my some directories here. The thing is, for ACE to work, you need to set up an environment variable called like ACE dir that points to the ACE directory where the integrated IDE is installed. And I think you need to put the compiler on the path as well. Anyway, so I've set this environment. They're not important, but there are instructions on how to do it yourselves. And for this demo, I want to show you the compiler. So we can make a directory called demo, and then we can use ACE to write, I'm thinking hello world. So we can hello.ada, we can call it. And this is the welcoming screen, and you can press any button. You can see that this environment is from 1991, it seems. And this file doesn't exist, so we select yes to create the file. And then we can start to write our ADA code. One thing that I have done here in my environment is that in DOSBox, it's American keyboard. And I'm not really used to working with the American keyboard. So it's a bit of a challenge for me. But if one is used to the American keyboard, then one has no problems. And please allow me some seconds to write down hello world. So there we have it. I think that whenever you change a line like I did here, I do believe this editor, it saves the file on the hard disk, so that you're not using, you won't lose work. That's the thing. And then to exit ACE, you do Control-Z to jump out. And then we can see that we have written our hello world application there. And another thing, for example, that could be worth mentioning is you can create your own macros. I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but to execute a macro, you do Alt X or is it Control X? Oh, that's weird. It seems I have forgotten the shortcut key to do that. Okay, well, no worries. If one presses Escape, you can get the menu to do things and to edit to. So we have macros here, and here, you can define your own macros. And I wanted to execute the macro. Here it says, Control X. It seems it didn't work. Actually, I wanted to execute this one. You see, execute named macro, Alt X. For some reason, that didn't work. If I do it like this, then maybe there's some configuration thing. The thing is, you can create your own macros and you can execute it. And I think when you're using the Gnat Studio, it's called aliases instead. So you have this functionality. It's not as good as the Gnat Studio because there you can have aliases or code snippets with parameters. But I don't think you have it here in the macros that are supported in this IDE. It's just, you just have the name of the macro and you just execute and it will expand code for you. So that can be useful to know. Let's try to compile this. And the name of the compiler is Ada. So you write like that. Oh no, there is one step further. Whenever you create like a new project like this, you just need to do this once. You need to execute this new lib command. So you execute it, and then this will set up like what the compiler needs, to be able to compile your code. And if one looks at the directory here, I think it has created this. I think it is this ada.aux directory that it creates. So it will put compiler-generated codes in this subdirectory. And this directory is created by the new lib command. In any case, so let's try again and compile our Ada code. So now we're compiling it. And then to make an executable out of it, the linker is called BAMP. I don't know why it's called BAMP. And then you just specify the name of the procedure, that is the entry, like main procedure for your Ada application. And so now we're linking our source code, and when we look at the files, we see we have this hello.exe file, and we can execute it. And you can also see that it's like 30 kilobytes, the end result. And I can demonstrate, that's like optimizer. If you want to turn on the optimizer, you do that with the -k flag. And it's pretty quick at compiling this code. But when we do the linking and we tell it to turn on optimizations, it will take a lot longer time, and you will see that it's, it really takes time. But hopefully soon it will be finished. Another thing which is funny is that the target for CPU for this compiler is the 8086. I mean, it's a really, really old compiler. I don't remember exactly when it came. End of the 70s? I'm not sure. Anyway, so now we're finished, and it managed to get down the executable to around 12.5 kilobytes. So it's like almost 1/3 of the original executable. And that's also quite interesting that it seems compilers that were made 40 years ago, they took a lot of time for optimizing things, and things are working much more quicker today. Other things, I think that's what concludes my small demo of how to use it. Why I would like, I can turn off this environment. what I thought is interesting, for example, to do, we have Advent of Code coming up. And if one would like to have a challenge, you could try to use the Meridian Ada compiler to solve the Advent of Code challenges. And I mean, it outputs a 16-bit. Let's start this again. It outputs a 16-bit executable, and if you do the mem command, you will see that what you have, you just have access to 640 kilobytes of RAM. I mean, work memory of the computer. So you really don't have a lot of memory to work with when solving the Advent of Code challenges. So it could make it more fun to do it. Let's see, there was another thing. Oh yeah, and something I saw on the internet here in this link is that it seems there are people still making games for DOS. So you could use this compiler for making DOS games. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to say. So I can stop sharing my screen and turn on my camera like that. So I hope you enjoy the small demonstration. Thank you.
Thank you, Joachim. Thank you very much. Are there any questions regarding the compiler, the environment, the limitations probably?
I mean, it's quite interesting to see that old of a version of Ada when it didn't even have the Ada namespace for like Textile.
I agree.
Nevertheless, if I remember correctly, GCC, older versions of GCC, were also being compiled with Ada enabled for DOS. No, I believe the compiler was called the DCGBCC or something like that. So if you would like, I think if some of you would like to try more modern Ada features in DOS, I believe you can do that, but I would need to look it up. I'm not so sure about that. And Joachim, how did you find this compiler? Is it in a list of compilers or?
That's a good. I was actually Googling for the Object Ada compiler, and so I found the Vitusver site through that. And then by chance, I just saw the Meridian Ada compiler, and I thought, I would like to try it out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Another thing which I can mention also is that this Ada compiler. I mean, in the demonstration that I did here, it generates this 16-bit executables. I haven't tried it yet, but according to the documentation, it can also output this extended mode 286 for the 286, and then you will have access to 16 megabytes of data. And I think, with other compilers, you can have this 32-bit extended mode with the 4 gigabytes of RAM memory. That's the one I usually saw. I played the Doom game 30 years ago, and it had this DOS 4GV extended mode for 32-bit. But this Meridian Ada compiler supports 16 megabytes 286 extended mode. Another thing which I think is interesting is the support for tasking, because there are 2 Ada runtimes in this compiler. One is a smaller runtime, where when you write your tasks and code for the task, you need to put in delay 0.0. You need to put spaces where the Ada runtime can change which task it's running, because the DOS CPU, environment is single task. So it makes more work when writing the code. Now, I think it's called preemptive tasking. But also there is this other Ada runtime, which I think is called non-preemptive tasking, and where a task, a given task is maybe given like 10 milliseconds to run, and then the runtime, and then you don't have to put this delay 0.0 commands in your code. So it's like much more convenient, and I think it's the normal thing that the Ignat compiler does today, time-based switching of tasks by the runtime. But that alt runtime is then, it's a bigger one. It's more complicated to implement such a thing. But these are parts of the Ada Meridian compiler, and if somebody's interested, one can play around with these features to try it out to see if it works well or not. Could be fun.
Then thank you, Joaquin. I believe there are no questions in the chat, though quite a few messages were sent there. If you would like to answer those, if there is anything there, feel free to do so. And talking about admin and code, let me share my screen, because maybe some of you would have already heard, some of you maybe haven't, but this year, the Advent of Code is only going to be 12 days long instead of 25. And there will be, as far as I know, no public leaderboard. But still the private ones are going to be there, just like always. So we will probably have, just like past years, an ADA leaderboard for us to play around and see each other's work. So yes, if you participate with Meridian, the Meridian compiler, please join the leaderboard, share your experience. For example, Gautier Thertovich in the forums, he is always using the hack Ada compiler. So anything that compiles Ada is more than welcome to join, and feel free to share your experiences with everybody else. So, Joaquin, would you like to say something else, or do we move on?
We can move on. I think there was only a question on the tasking, and we already covered it. So I think we're good for now. But if are there any questions, just, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then, about more news, just a few days ago, well, some of you may have heard that NVIDIA published their work on getting SEAL Level 4 ISO 26262 certification. That's for the control systems of driving cars. That's the highest certification that you can get, and it's required for some parts of the code. Well, they published a guide on how to do that. They did that as a collaboration with Ada Core. And within this framework of NVIDIA using Ada and using it for safety critical systems, they've had people, parts of their hacking team, of their safety and security team, have gone into to the DEF CON conference to tell their experience about what it is like to try to break Ada and what it is like to try to create better, tougher software that just works. So they've gone already several times. One of the earliest ones is from DEF CON 30. But they also went this year to DEF CON 33. And if you would like to see their findings and the usage that they've made of the RISC-V architecture and Ada, please take a look at this video, because they do go into some of the details of their work. And something that's very interesting to me is that they have shipped over 1 billion cores with this architecture, with the RISC-V architecture. And they don't mention it, but it is heavily implied that these cores, these RISC-V cores, are programmed in Ada Spark. So they talk, maybe I can quickly find the architecture diagram that they share. Of the code that No. Well, they here. Yes. So let me make it full screen. So they talk about the hardware, their IP, their silicon IP, but then they also explain a little bit what parts of their cores, of their chips that go into GPUs and other products are written in Ada and Ada Spark. And as you can see, the booting system, the ROM, the low-level stuff is written in Spark, and then the separation kernel, the operating system that these microchips run, it's also written in Spark. And then it is free for everybody. It's probably some mixture of Spark code, Rust code, C++ code that they are using. But it is very interesting to see that basically over 1 billion cores have already been shipped with Ada in them, and the Ada that's using those cores is the highest quality that they can that the NVIDIA engineers have been able to generate. So yes, if you're interested, I will leave this link in the chat, but obviously the link will be as part of the minutes of the meeting, so that you can watch it later. And I find this to be very interesting, and it's great that NVIDIA is this transparent with their work. Well, at least some of their engineers. Regarding more news, Mikronian and also Dirk have posted in the forums about several Ada job postings, both in the US and in Europe. So if you're interested in working in Ada, if you're looking for change, or if you know people interested in working with Ada, forward them these links. And a lot of people think there aren't that many Ada jobs, and that's true, but there is always a constant small stream of new job postings regarding Ada. So please keep a look at this. Regarding more news, Ada Core announced that AWS, the Ada web server, and the Polyr, how was it? The DAS system of Ada, DSA of Ada, are reaching their end of life. They are not going to outright be archived and never be touched, but they've basically they are going into full maintenance mode, and they will see no more changes starting in a couple of years in the future. So yeah, just letting you know, if you're interested in cloning these products and maintaining them yourselves, or sharing improvements with the community, that is always a very nice idea. And talking about Polyr, by the way, Tucker Taff, part of the Ada repertoire group, they are always interested in learning more about what people are doing with the Ada DSA, what they like, what they don't like, what improvements or changes could be applied to the DSA as it is currently written in standard, to hopefully in the future have something better. So if you have anything to say, please do go into the ARG GitHub and then just voice your concern. I believe someone already created an issue where people can just discuss this topic. Regarding more news about libraries, and the BSS string manipulation library has been split into 2 different libraries. So now we have BSS text and BSS extra. So in case you were using this library, just know that it is, quote, dead, but it's just basically been split into 2 different libraries. Also, a new user of the forums, but probably someone that has been working in Ada for a while, Michel Carne, he posted in the forums about like 3 different projects that he has worked on about Ada, and one that piqued my interest, and that's why I'm sharing this one in particular, is that he implemented the result type, the optional type, the iter type, etc., that are very common in the Rust community and also nowadays in the C++ community. He has implemented those in Ada. So, well, you can go into the repo, taste what he has done, see how the internals work, etc., etc. So this is an interesting library, new library for the community. Also, as I just mentioned, advent of code. There are some changes, as I said. So just like last year, we're probably going to have our typical threads to discuss each day and solutions that people are working on for each of those. And in some bigger news, in case you haven't heard them, Tagertaf, the other guy, who is also part of the Ada User Society, who we just got elected. I forgot about his name. Anyway, so Tagertaf and this other very important person whose name I just forgot, they propose to have the parallel feature be implemented in GCC as part of the Google Summer of Code, which is a program that pays people to contribute to open source software. Their proposal was accepted as part of the GCC block of proposals, and they've been working on it, and they've created a branch. It's under the Ada Repertoire GitHub group, a clone of GCC with this branch, the parallel branch, which you can just compile, and it has the initial stages of the parallel keyword implemented in them. You can read this forum post, especially the bottom part, where Tagertaf explains what they've done, and basically if you go, these links again will be as part of the minutes of the meeting, so you don't have to search for them. If you compile this part of this clone of GCC, you will have access to the last big chunk of Ada 22 features that were not implemented in GCC. And hopefully this is expected to be upstreamed to GCC version 16, which will come out next year. So everybody, just the general public, will have access to it. Nevertheless, Maxime, who is with us here in the call, he has already created pre-compiled binaries with this branch, specifically the parallel branch, and you can just download the Linux and the Windows and the macOS binaries to try and test out this new feature. Maxime specifically created this in case you would like to try these new features with advent of code. So if you would like to see if the algorithms become faster, by how much, etc., etc., you can just use these pre-compiled binaries. You don't have to go through the pain of compiling GCC yourself. This is a great opportunity for you, the community, to test this new feature, but also to report bugs. It's very important that we test and check for bugs in this implementation, because, as I said, the hope is that it is going to be upstream in GCC 16. So the more bugs we can find and that we can fix, the better for the general release towards the public and everybody else. In other news, the Gnat FSFS builds repository, which is the repository that Ellier uses to basically publish precompiled binaries of GCC, GPR build, Gnat proof. Since last month, or since a couple of months, it has also started releasing pre-releases of GCC snapshots. So if you want to test the new features of the general new features of GCC 16, Gnat 16, you can do so also by downloading the binaries, the pre-compiled binaries of the compiler here in the repository. Again, you will have all of these available as part of the minutes of the meeting. Also, bad news. FOSDEM. We did not get accepted for a dev room. Our proposal was declined. There were over 130 proposals, and there have only been 3 programming languages that were accepted to have a dev room. They were Rust, Python, and I believe Go. JavaScript was not even accepted, but there is a web development, a specific dev room for, so probably the JavaScript, TypeScript can go there. So yeah, a little bit sad, but there is still a little bit of a silver lining, and we still have the possibility to have a stand, just like a few years ago, to go and talk to people, which I personally really liked. As you can just meet random people who have probably never heard of Ada and who just want to chat a little bit with you and ask you, hey, what are these things that you're showcasing? And it's a very dynamic, very nice interaction, and it's not just from Ada programmers to Ada programmers, it's from Ada programmers to the wider public, and it's great. And a couple of years ago, we brought a lot of attention to Ada. The deadline is tomorrow, and I still have not started writing the proposal, as we were waiting for some replies from some people, which we just got. So I will hopefully write the proposal this night or tomorrow. But talking about conferences, just as a reminder, like the last time that Dirk was here, the last Ada monthly meetup, just a reminder that the next Ada Europe International Conference will be taking place from the 9th to the 12th of June in hopefully I don't butcher this name, Västerås in Sweden. So if you plan on submitting research papers, industrial papers, etc., the deadlines are closing in. So please do take a look at the deadlines. And regarding the open source side of things, the workshop side of things, the Ada developers workshop, I still have to make a formal proposal to the organizers. But yes, next year in June, I would also like to have the Ada developers workshop. So that's still in my to-do list for things to do. And that's about it regarding news of the Ada community, of changes that have been taking place. I didn't have much else to say. So if anybody would like to put forward any news, any questions, any comments, feel free to share them.
Just a quick comment for me. It's very possible that I will be present at the Ada Europe conference, since it's in Västerås in Sweden and I'm in Stockholm. So it's not decided, but very possible I will be there. So if you are there, then yeah, maybe we will meet each other.
Yes.
So yeah, I look forward to that if possible. There's another thing I wanted to mention as well that I just thought about sharing. So I'll share my screen again.
Please do.
Yes, entire screen. Yes, and what I want to show you is this. Yeah, well, this is on Linux-based system, but on Linux you have this like temporary directory. I mean, it doesn't contain anything special, but I mean, it's like all the files in this directory are like in the RAM memory, probably. It's a little bit complicated like that. I got the impression that the Linux kernel is allowed, when needed, to take contents from the TMP directory, you know, like to the hard disk and save it there if it needs RAM memory. But I think most of the time, the Linux operating system doesn't need to do that. So whatever you put in this temporary directory, it will be in the RAM memory. So, and the reason why I would like to mention this is because I have started using it for compiling. Because when you compile your Ada code, I try to put this the generated object files, like perhaps in this like directory, and even the executables. because when working, I mean, you need to recompile many times, and it's really not necessary to save everything on the hard disk, on permanent memory. So I would like to share that idea, and it works pretty well for me so far. It's a new idea for me, but yeah, feel free to try it out. And actually, you can mount like any directory of your choice and put it to a temporary file system.
If anybody wants to check if their if their TMP directory is in RAM, just run the same command as Joachim did, df disk free, and if in the file system it says tmpfs, that's just RAM. It basically just means RAM. So yes, as Joachim said, if you mount any folder as with the tmpf file system, then it's just going to be on RAM. However, one word of caution, because I compile scientific programs and they can be very large. Careful with that, because if you do it with parallel, your RAM is going to be used by the temporary files and also by the compilation, so it can very quickly be filled up. I've filled servers of 100 gigabytes of RAM very quickly with that method, so careful with that. But yeah, it speeds up the compilation tremendously. I was surprised when I started doing it. So thank you for that tip. Yeah.
Anytime. Yeah, nice to meet you, everybody. Very happy to meet you all.
And then Joy, you raise your hand.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, a little bit noisy, but yes.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that. So I am working on a proposal for ARG to do the essentially a meta language extension, I guess, to Ada. And so I'm working on that, and I think I'm about halfway to 2/3 of the way done with the document that I need to produce to try to explain how things are going. I should have a good chunk of the first draft done by the end of today. If anybody wants to do some proofreading or comments on it, you can. I can send you a copy if you want. If you drop your email into the chat.
Yes.
That's basically it.
Okay, and a reminder to everybody: the proposals to the ARG, they become public once they are published, once they are formalized by whomever wants. So you can always have that discussion. It is meant to encourage public discussions of new features and changes to the language. So I highly encourage everybody to participate on those, because that's how we make the language better. And I forgot to say something very important and interesting. Sorry for that. It's not super public yet, but it is already public, so I can mention it. The Ada User Society is creating a fund to have some funding for tasks within the Ada community. I cannot be too specific on what those funds are going to go for, because it's quite wide in terms of reach, because we want to help as many things as possible. But yeah, just letting you know that hopefully before the end of the year, this is going to be very public and it's going to be set in stone. But yeah, during the Ada User Society General Assembly, it was finally published that we are creating a fund to receive money, and then to create grants or fund improvements to projects, the compiler, the language, etc., that can benefit the wider Ada community. So keep an eye on that, because we are still finalizing on how the funds are going to be sent, what projects are going to be funded or not. the current system is going to be a board of people who are just going to be voting together to decide where to use those funds. We are looking for an extra person. By the way, we need at least 3 people, and we are 2 people. So if you would like to take part of a board take part of the committee that decides on how these funds are used, please email me or reach to me or write to me in the forums or whatever, because we are looking for an extra person to help direct the funding. It's not a lot of money, but little by little. Joy, would you like to say something?
What time was the that board going to be meeting?
Okay,
Or
so
is that not gonna say?
our goal is not to have too many meetings. It's just we hope to receive proposals or ideas or already created tasks that have been deemed of very high quality, and the board gets together, decides on what tasks should get funding or what projects should be awarded, and that's just a tiny bit of discussion, and then we just move forward. My idea was to do that via email, so no meetings. And it's probably it's a closed board meeting. I wouldn't mind having it open, to be honest with you, but the committee, for the time being, we are just going to make it closed, just to see how things go. But it's open, so we are looking for people. It's not like we are a closed society that just decides things in the shadows. And I'm still writing the let's say the founding papers, the founding requirements, and one of the points of it is that things need to be made very public. So I want transparency in terms of funding. So that's something that I hope to get. So yes, keep an eye on that. It's not a lot of money. Again, these are like small grants that we hope with which we hope to encourage people to contribute more to the ADA ecosystem. Also, I saw a mention of Weston. So Weston and Wesley. So as I was a little bit too overwhelmed with life in general, I couldn't edit the videos of the ADA Developer Society from this year that took place in France, in Paris. So Weston and Wesley both volunteered to edit the videos. I gave them to them, and they've been working on them for the past month or 2. So they just Weston wrote in the chat that they are quite advanced with the recordings. So I'm sorry for the time it's taking. I know last year I had plenty of free time and I did it in like a couple of weeks after the developer workshop, but this year it's just taking longer. It's coming, nevertheless, it's coming. It's just taking much longer than expected. So yes, there is that. Also, I will be in FOSDEM regardless of whether we get a stand or not. Just in case you're going to FOSDEM, I will be there for sure. So yeah. Are there any more points or topics that you would like to discuss? Yes, AJ?
So the only thing I really have is just a reminder that the ADA Discord server does exist. You can get an invite link on adalang.io. We're currently at almost 250 members now, so it's growing pretty well, and we have some discussion usually in the beginners channel. I think it's a great opportunity for people that are kind of in that sector of the internet to come across and get some advice and help and stuff. So it's every time we have the ADA monthly meeting, I set up a Discord event in the server for the monthly meeting too, and kind of start that and track it in there as well. So that's just a update on that. The one other thing was, I know earlier you've mentioned, and we talked about this a little bit, is the ADA web server. being end of life. And I don't know if there is people making an active effort with plans to like start a maybe like a Discord, or not Discord, a GitHub organization or something. Maybe try and I don't know if Adacore is planning on archiving that project, or if we want to look at that. I know there was some discussion in Matrix over trying to get like the latest version and stuff like that. And um, I know there's all of that effort, but it might be worth thinking about if we want to, I guess, do some kind of like hard fork or clone, or like if there's no more plans for Adacore to work on that repo, and they're not, and like if there's plans to donate it to somebody, to have somebody take over the project or something, because I think losing that project wouldn't be great. I know that Yes relies on it. I know there's some other people that rely on it. I think it's a really fantastic piece of software, and it is open source. So I don't think there's any issue. There would be an issue with somebody else taking it over and working on getting that into a Lear. Now I have been thinking about it. I've got very intimate with that software recently, for Yes. So I've been familiarizing myself with it over the last few years. But if there's anybody that's interested, I'll drop my email in the chat, and I'd be interested in collaborating. Or if you're interested in, if somebody is, just reach out to me, or if you know more, reach out to me.
Mm-hmm. Something that we could do in the future is clone these repositories into the Lang group, and maybe maintain those there, or create an Ada libraries association or group in GitHub to centralize the efforts.
Yeah, that's kind of along the lines I was thinking.
But as far as I know, these programs are still going to be maintained for like bugs and safety critical issues for a while, as far as their announcement went. So they are not archiving things just right now, but they've announced that they will. I saw a question in the forum, in the chat from Wesley. If the Ada Users Society will allow people to donate to the fund. Yes, that is one of the main goals, is to encourage the donation of people and companies to that fund, and to create a small pool from which we can then contribute back to the creators of software and people maintaining the software. Nevertheless, this is important. It's not just going to be Ada only code. It needs to be Ada relevant, which is different. One idea that we were tossing around is, for example, that the GTK bindings for Ada have not been updated to GTK 4. Generally, these would be done in an automated manner, and from what I know, the GTK 3 bindings were done using a Python script. So if someone would like to write Python to create an upgraded, updated version of the bindings for GTK 4, that could also theoretically be funded if it's deemed relevant for the community. So yeah, just letting you know this. And there are going to be actually no requirements for people to participate. So as long as something is deemed relevant, we just would like to have the possibility of funding that, or just giving a small grant. It's not like funding. It's just, hey, here is a small prize, here's a small grant to whomever does this, or hey, you did this, thank you for that, just here's some money for that. It's not worth of a work that you will. It's not going to pay for the hours that people are going to invest, but it is something. Okay? It's more than nothing. So that's the beginning. Hopefully in the future it will be more and more. Are there any more questions or topics? where can you read more about the funding? Not yet. It's still not fully public. It was discussed during the General Assembly of the ADA User Society. The slides are available to the members of the ADA User Society, but hopefully before the end of the year, the proceedings and the groundwork for the funding will be published and will be made public. That's my hope. It depends on how quickly I get to write everything, to be honest. The next ADA User Society meeting. Generally, there is a General Assembly every year, and sometimes they do one in the middle of the year, which tends to coincide with the ADA Europe conference, so that they can also all meet in person. So it tends to be ADA Europe and General Assembly. But nevertheless, any announcements of this type will be made public. That's my goal. It's for everybody to participate. Initially, there was this idea of, hey, let's just let ADA User Society people participate in the funding. But no. That was a strict no from my side. So don't worry. Yeah, everything will be made public when it's time. Any estimate when minutes of the first ADA's meeting will be made available? No, I have no information regarding the estimates of the minutes of the meeting for the General Assembly. I am not the one in charge. I'm not a part of the board, so I cannot say. So, any more points that you would like to touch on? Then, if not, I will get to the minutes of the meeting, and I hope to see you soon. Then, thank you for attending, and yeah, thank you, Joaquin, for the presentation you gave, and thank you, everybody, for contributing back.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you, Max.